Hi, this is BetGo with Grinder School. We can do a hand history review of subscribers tournament in a 4-180. It's a slow structure. It needs to take about 4 or 5 hours to finish. First prize is like 240 or something like that. It's very soft. I mean, the effective stacks are kind of low because it takes a long time. And management kind of asked me to go over this. I think it might be better just to fold here. It's a little interesting to me, the small ISO. And usually if you had a real hand, you should almost always raise big here. If you had like a mid to high pocket pair or big ace, for value, because presumably the limper's going to call you. Usually, I mean, you don't need to make it that. Certainly, if you make it 250, he might fold or something. But I mean, it also depends on the read on the limper. Is he a donk or is he limping small pocket pairs or something like that? Sometimes regs would do that kind of thing. And I don't know what the stats are and all that. If you want to isolate versus the weak player, it might be a reasonable approach. I think checking down is good on that board because it's just very hard to represent. You represent the high cards when you're raised, and the raise is better than he lets you check it down and he wins it. I think it's better than limping behind. I mean, limping behind early position. Unless you're limping behind a lot of big hands or something like that and doing it for balance, it's just not a profitable play with a hand like this. This hand doesn't really play that well when you're fairly deep and out of position, so I may just let it go. You can get yourself in some trouble if somebody calls you or whatever. You definitely should be folding to the re-raise. The fold's okay. I mean, if you had like 20 big blinds, 30 big blinds, it's definitely a fold. I think it's possible either to open this or to limp here at the stakes. This stage, we're fairly deep and low stakes here. I think that's probably the better play. Even though your position is bad, you can win a lot of chips when you hit your set because you have bad players who pay you off. It's pretty standard. This is not standard. And maybe you're hoping it'll look like you're betting a draw and get somebody to call. I have a feeling you probably get the money in anyway against people like that. Now, you might want to protect against a draw. This also looks bad for the pre-flop raiser this flop. So I might play. I'd probably just make it 500 or something. Try to represent, that maybe I'm just c-betting this or something. Well, you're c-betting to a bunch of players, but a lot of times they'll think, well, you missed your high cards, So I don't think it's necessary to shove like that. And the jacks were going to get in anyway. Jacks could have re-raised you pre-flop. I'm not sure that the flat call was bad with the jacks, or certainly I would have called that push also if I had jacks, because it doesn't look like you got a big pair there, which I guess has some point to it, but I don't think it's the best way of playing it. This was very unusual play. First of all, the guy made it raised under the gun. Second of all, he made it 4 times the big blind. So this is just I think it was a bad play calling with ace jack. It's going to be very hard to play this post flop, and there's a very good chance he has you dominated. I mean, oftentimes, usually means he's not folding. I think shoving here would be pretty bad because I think you're behind his probable range. And I mean, it depends on the player. If you have the right read, maybe, but I don't think you could ever shove there. But the flatting's just throwing away chips, and you're out of position. You don't have initiative. He's represent tons of strength, and it's gonna be hard for you to continue. And if you hit the ace of the jack, you're not sure. You probably get the money in and be correct to do so, but you wouldn't be correct. You'd be sure if you're ahead. I had kings. The call is you're getting 1.5 to 1. The question, it might be a little bit read dependent, but I mean, it's actually pretty close here. I think it'd be fine to fold because I don't know at the stakes whether people are shoving over that kind of open. I mean, sometimes the kings would flat call, but you're still like you're like 2.1 to 1 against kings or ace king or something like that. If you had ace three suited, it'd be the same thing. But obviously, ace jack suited plays better against like tens or nines or some other hands that he could be, reshoving on, with. It's actually a pretty close situation there because he raised under the gun, and he re-raised an early position. I actually noticed that the fact that he happened to have you dominated, but I think he won the hand by whatever. But I think it probably a fold. Actually, it's pretty close. It's probably not that bad. I mean, you're trying to take the pot down. Obviously, you're afraid to play post flop there with the ace king. I mean, the problem is if you three bet at lower stakes, you three bet call. At higher stakes, you three bet call, but you get flatted and you're out of position. It might be hard to play. And would seem a little weak to just complete there. I mean, it's not out of the question to just complete. It's not out of the question to just shove here in one of these things too. I mean, of course, it might look like ace king or whatever, but it's kind of strange, and you might get somebody to spouse call you. I think it's fine to just make it 5,000 or 6,000 or whatever and play it from there. No, the overbet's not terrible, really. This is a better place to just shove here, because he's got like 13 big blinds or something, and you have to make the call, I guess, but you're not crazy about it. I mean, the hand does play pretty well post flop if he flats, but you're out of position. But yeah, usually, this kind of stack, I just definitely you can push on most of your hands, but definitely push like unsuited Broadway cards. Weak aces, maybe king X suited. Small pocket pairs, things like that. And a lot of times it'd be low cards, so you can sometimes call that, with sixes or something when somebody does that. But in this case you have high cards. I think it's a somewhat more accurate play. Again, this is not standard to defend our big blind here. Versus the undergun raise. Now, if you made it really small, like people tend to do these days, then it'd be fine to call with a hand like this. But it's not that terrible because it does play pretty well post flop. And if we flop a gut shot, or two flushes on the board, and that worked out very nicely. He probably should c-bet. I mean, it's not the greatest flop to c-bet, but I think Hero does play pretty well a post flop. So he's pretty good at playing aggressively post flops. So some of these plays may work for him better. This is also not real standard to call the raise. We do a position. But we're also up against the big stack or the second stack. So I mean, I think I would. I mean, he's probably praising pretty light, but I think it's probably not worth it for you to get involved with him real light. But if you're going to do something, I think it'd be more standard to just 3-bet fold, make it 10K or something. Yeah, I'm not sure whether betting the turn is best. I mean, I don't think he folded, but I'm sure we were ahead there. You're sort of protecting your hand with the one card to come, I guess. But or maybe protecting yourself against a bigger bet on the river or something. But I'm not sure there's really a lot of point in it. I mean, if you don't really want to get check raised there. I mean, even though the bet's real small, I think it's kind of bad to call with this kind of hand because it's so junky. And if we were a little deeper, I guess. So we're still pretty deep, but I think this is a pretty wet board. I'm not sure we should be betting out with fourth pair, but and this is kind of what you expect with that 4-2 suited is just to make fourth pair and then not know what to do with it. This stakes people tend to flat. Higher stakes they tend to push or fold, but I think push or fold is better here. And it's not a hand that's going to really play that well. It'll be that easy to play post flop. I mean, you sort of have odds maybe to set mine or something. I don't know. That worked out very well. Again, he should just see bet that. I guess play post flop with people if they're going to play that badly. This is a pretty dry flop, so he should really see bet that whatever he's got. Here, I think I would flat here because the hand has some value. For flatting, it's got considerable value just to flat with, so I would 3-bet fold hands that really didn't have that much value to flat. The c-bet's very good there. It's a very, very good flop to c-bet on. The ace XX flop. This is a mistake. You should just shove here. It's like 11 big blinds. You have an average hand. You just have to gamble there. You get a lot of folds. It's certainly possible to complete or raise fold or something. And pushing is standard, but anything's better than folding. It's a pretty decent hand. I wouldn't do this. Normally, it's fine to open this kind of hand on the button if you're deep stacked in a cash game or live tournament, something like that. But it's a pretty weak hand, and also we're the second stack, and so there's an ICM issue at this point. And I don't know how badly this guy plays, the big blind, but he can definitely mess with you. It puts you in a difficult situation. So I just wouldn't be playing. He played a pretty solid game at this time. Also, the 3 times open is a little eccentric at the stage. I think at a 4-180 it's fine early on. It's not that bad in a 4-180 because you don't get even late on you don't get re-raised. It's not always like they're always re-raising or folding. But I think most people would go 2 or 2.5 times big blind, somewhere in that range at this stage of the tournament. It's just very unusual to play that way. And I think you have to see about this. And this could definitely hit him. Now this is a very very, very good flop there. Let's see. Now we flat him. It's a good flop to represent as a pre-flop raiser, even though it's kind of wet could hit him. I don't know. I think I might raise here for value. Certainly the board can pair. It's kind of likely he's drawing to a full house or whatever. But quads. But I think he may not get action when you raise. It looks like you have what you have, but there might be some reason to just raise there. And I think you could bet a little larger here for value. He's like, I got the nuts. I don't want to scare him away. But it is a little hard for him to call anything at this point because it's sort of obvious he might have the queen. But I think the sizing is a little small there. You actually do have the complete nuts. We're street shopping. Yeah, certainly shopping is possible because only one card is required there. But. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a little suspicious. I mean, at higher stakes, you get these, people could be bluffing or something when they do that. I wouldn't be real happy with that, but Towns is pretty strong, and he does have aces. I would just shove here pre-flop. I mean, it depends on the dynamics, but when he's the big stack and he just completes there, he's usually got complete garbage. Okay. This is very weird. I mean, it does look pretty strong, but you really shouldn't be stealing here as a short stack. Usually just raise push or fold, and or you can come over top of people pushing. You shouldn't be stealing very much, and I mean, it's very strange to make it 3 times the big blind when you only have 13. You wouldn't like it if you got re-raised. You'd have to fold it. Obviously, you should fold it. And I mean the sizing. I mean, I won't say something's absolutely wrong with sizing because I do weird stuff with sizing, but it's a little bit unusual. Here, it's not. I think the fold's fine. It's not out of the question to shove on him. It depends on how light he's opening because very often he's going to fold to you, and he got a pretty good hand. And I mean, there is no ICM issue, if you get called, but. I think this flat's pretty bad. Just shove or fold here, and it's kind of close to what to do. It depends on the dynamics, but this hand doesn't. You do have position, but the hand doesn't play very well, and he's got chips on you, and so you just fold here, where you may very well be ahead on that flop. So if you shoved, you get to see all 5 cards. So I think that's pretty badly played. That's one of the problems Hero seems to have is. Flatting raises sometimes when he shouldn't. Let's say flatting raises is necessarily bad. Here, I mean, I think it's much more standard to shove. I mean, you could sort of be ready to shove whatever any flop, pretty much, but putting in that big chunk of your stack and not going all in, you don't see many regulars playing that way. Even though you got a good hand, this is kind of a marginal open because of the stack sizes. You're the second stack here. And again, the sizing is strange. And of course you have to fold. But I feel like he's going to be doing that a lot, shoving us a lot, so I'd be a little careful with that. This it's pretty marginal. I mean, I think it might be okay as a call. Somebody makes the overbet though. I don't know how he's playing. It's like we just got heads up, so it's probably good enough to call it though. Okay, I guess that'll be it for this review.